to Take Me With You, Episode 12. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
But that's not going to happen. So instead, we'll travel vicariously by inviting a guest to share their unique travel stories with us.
Today, we are talking to Alyssa. Alyssa is a freelance video editor in Southern California. And she just went on, I think, the trip of a lifetime. Is that right, Alyssa?
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, I was seeing your pictures online and it was like, we got to get this girl to tell us about the 1 million locations you went to. Was this your first time in Europe?
It was my first time on the continent. I've been to the UK twice, but yes, this was my first exposure to the old country.
Okay, very cool. And did you do much traveling when you were young?
We traveled a lot. Well, not a lot, but I would say like a decent amount in the United States when I was younger and growing up, to the East Coast and to the Pacific Northwest and to the mountains a lot in California. But I didn't travel internationally until college.
Oh, cool. Wow. Well, clearly you love it, so that's pretty exciting.
So what was that first international experience? Where did you go?
I went to Japan with my university. It was a class to make a short film in Japanese with Japanese actors and Japanese locations. And that was pretty incredible first trip.
Wow. That does sound fun.
Yeah.
So, Alyssa, there's a set of questions that we tend to like to ask our guests just to give us an idea about your kind of travel style. So, why do you travel? Why do you like to travel?
I think I like traveling because it's a opportunity to just peek into someone else's life for a while and see the world through their eyes and hear their stories and just absorb beautiful cultures and experiences. It really expands your sense of the world when you travel. I know it's probably a cliched answer, but I think it is why traveling is so enduring, is because it just exposes you to things that you never would have seen if you had stayed home in your own little bubble.
That's really beautiful. I like that.
So what type of traveler are you? And that's intentionally broad and vague so that you can kind of define that however you want.
I think I'm a pretty easygoing traveler. I don't like to be like too much on a schedule, but I like to have a plan and a structure to kind of wander through and experience things and stop when something strikes my fancy. But I'm not one of the kind of people who can throw a backpack on my back and just like wing it for weeks on end.
What are the things that you want on a schedule then?
I think the things that I would like on a schedule would be places to stay, like places to rest my head. That's the big thing.
Okay.
We had a couple of times when we weren't sure where we were going to stay, and so we had to make some last minute decisions, and that was kind of a little dicey for me, but it all worked out. It always does, but I like to know where I'm going and plan around that.
Okay. But then, like, the day-to-day, you don't really want to choose in advance, like, this is what we're doing every day. You kind of want to see what happens, or what does that decision-making process look like for you?
Yeah, I think I like to go into a place knowing sort of what sites there are, but not being, like, feeling like I'm too pressured to cram all of those in. Just sort of editing as you go along. I guess as an editor, that's what I do. I see what's out there, and then I sort of craft a line and a story through it. What works in terms of geography, what works in terms of, like, thematic enjoyment of a place.
All right. I guess that makes sense.
I've never heard it described like that, and I love it so much. Editing as you go along. So, like, real-time editing then or something like that?
Yeah.
So that when you have a bad experience, you just cut that out and then it doesn't exist anymore?
Sure. Or it's like, it adds to the story. It's the rising action and the climax, and it makes it makes the happy ending all the more special.
Yeah. Wow.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because you almost missed your train. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
That's a great description. So, what would you say is your number one travel tip?
I think my number one travel tip is, I don't know how else to say it, but just like tap into the vibes of a place.
Tap into the vibes.
I mean, it's more than just like understanding the culture. I think it's about really choosing to put yourself in the mentality of a place, how the locals are, how tourists interact in that place, the history that's there, the aesthetics. There's just like sort of feelings that a place can just sort of evoke. And when you kind of have an understanding, and sometimes you go in knowing it, and sometimes you just have to discover it as you go along. But the more, I don't know, you're just open to the experience, I think, and like more open you are to melding yourself into it, I think the more fun you'll have and the less stressed out you'll be.
Tap into the vibes.
It makes me
Ryan,
sound
have you ever tapped
very
into the
new
vibes
age
before?
I don't know that I can think of an experience that I would describe where I tapped into the vibes.
That's because you haven't done drugs before. Maybe that's it.
There you go. There you go.
Well, for the record, neither have I. I could have fooled you.
It does
I
sound
think
new
that's good, though.
agey, yeah, but that's a really good idea, is just to be open to like fully experiencing a place and everything.
Yeah, but it sounds like not just seeing, but also being a part of.
Yes, for sure.
And participating.
Yeah, I think
So,
it's,
I think
like you said, it's a participation into whatever the place has to offer. And then just sort of the joy of discovering it as you go along and you play along. And I think it just makes it a lot of fun. I have an example of that. My friend really wanted to go to Amalfi in Italy, and I was not that excited to go there because it's really difficult to get there by public transportation. And also, Justin Bieber had just been there on his honeymoon, and and all the celebrities, and it's just got that, like, touristy celebrity culture surrounding it. I just wasn't that excited. I'm a small, sort of cozy kind of person, and I just wasn't feeling it. But then I decided, you know what, like, just go with it. And so we took the ferry instead of the bus, and drank limoncello and stayed on the beach and went swimming and took lots of selfies and wore dresses and just had a good time and sort of, I don't know, just embraced the fact that we were on a mini vacation inside of our vacation. And just felt, just at ease and like we owned the place. Not in a snobby way, but just just in a sense that, I don't know, you were there to thoroughly enjoy the place, and and I think the people were laughing at me when I was taking all the selfies on the ferry and my hair was blowing everywhere, and I just didn't get the right one, so.
Those ferry selfies are difficult. But here's the key question. Did you meet Justin Bieber? Did you?
I think if we had gotten a private yacht, that would have like completed the experience and maybe thrown us in the way of meeting other yacht people, but no, I didn't see him there. I hope he had already left by the time we got there. I'm not sure.
Wait. You're telling me that you didn't go to the Amalfi Coast to see Justin Bieber? I thought that was the whole point of the story, was that, hey,
man.
you gotta
Tap
go
into
with the vibes,
of
right?
Justin Bieber.
Of Justin Bieber.
Justin
right?
Bieber doesn't like chase after Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber just is Justin Bieber. So I was
tapped into his vibes.
I think
I was
you
becoming
should make an inspirational
Justin Bieber.
poster out of that.
Ooh.
I would never want to become Justin Bieber. Sorry. Sorry, Justin.
He is a listener, so
He
I'm
is
pretty
a
sure
regular
you just
listener.
offended him. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, on that wonderful note, I think it's time for you to tell us about your trip.
Yay! Where all did you go?
We started out in Munich, just to fly in, because my friend that I traveled with, she had a friend who was Italian, and he lives about 4 hours away from either the Milan airport or the Munich airport, and so we just went where he told us to go. And she met him 10 years ago in San Francisco on a tourist boat under the Golden Gate Bridge, and they struck up a friendship and became best friends and pen pals, but they'd never seen each other again. And so sort of 10 years later on my friend's 40th, she turned 40 while we were over there, we just decided to go. And when I found out like 5 or 6 years ago that she had a friend who lives in Italy and had never gone to see him, I was like, what are you thinking? You have to go. And also, and you will appreciate this, I'm pretty sure I literally said this to her. I said, take me with you.
Yay!
So that's how
Yay!
this trip
We're
turned
so proud.
out, was I wanted my friend to take advantage of her relationship with a local and also bring me along. So that's sort of the motivation for the trip. And so we spent that first week with her friend, George, who is from northern Italy, and he took us around to all sorts of gorgeous places in his hometown, including this little village called Glurns, which I think is my favorite place of the whole trip.
Favorite place? What makes it your favorite? Like, what is it about? You said it was Glurns?
Glurns, yeah, and Glorenza in Italian, because everything
Lorenza! There we go. I got it.
is in 2 languages there, but it's more of an Austrian culture. They're originally part of Austria up until about 100 years ago when World War I happened, and they had to give it up.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting, huh?
But they've maintained a lot of their Austrian culture, which is fun because my mom is half Austrian and German, so that was kind of exciting. But I wasn't really expecting, I didn't know what to expect for that first week of the trip when we were with my friend's friend, because I was just going along for the ride. That was sort of her thing and his thing, but it was honestly the best part of the trip, probably because it was such a surprise. I wasn't expecting it. And Glurns is this tiny medieval town. It's got a medieval wall around it. It's beautifully preserved, so it's like walking into a castle. The place where George grew up is next to a mill where his ancestors were millers for hundreds of years. So there's just like this stream like running through their back garden. And it's like a stone's throw away from the edge of the medieval wall. So it's just like stepping into a fairy tale. And the people there are so kind. You can just walk outside and hear cowbells and church bells. And you can see the mountains. It's tucked into the Italian Alps. So it was just picturesque and peaceful and just an utter surprise. So yeah, Glurns is my favorite.
Wow. Okay, so was there anything in the town that like you're like, oh, well, clearly we're not back in time because there's this modern piece to it, or has it really kept like its old feel?
I think it's kept its old feel very well. There are cars, but they sort of pause for each other as they go through the medieval gate. There's just like space for one car.
Wow.
So that's just very interesting. You don't expect cars like driving around in a medieval context, but they were just so few and far between that everyone just walked and it really was like stepping back in time.
Wow. How cool. Oh my goodness. That's so fun. And then where did you go after that?
We went into Switzerland for just like an hour. That was
just an hour? Why just an hour?
because George didn't like Switzerland because Switzerland is expensive, and these are his opinions. It is expensive, and he wouldn't come out and say it, but there's a history of Switzerland trying to take over Glurns for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Oh my goodness.
Really?
Because it's only...
I thought they were neutral in all things.
Well, we're talking like this is why they built the medieval wall around the city.
Oh, wow.
Because they're only 15 minutes away from the current border. So, so there's a lot of enmity, I think, in the heart of Clarence against Switzerland. But we went in real quick, and then we spent time in that area, going to George's friends and family's houses, and just eating amazing things that they cooked us.
Ooh, what did you eat?
Oh, his friend Tanya made us an incredible dinner party to celebrate my friend's birthday, our second night that we were there. And she made something called knoodle.
No, that's from Mean Girls. So
it's basic.
What is canoodle?
It's basically kind of like a dumpling, like grated breadcrumbs with egg and chopped up ham and cheese and spinach. And then they roll it up in this ball and they boil it. And then sometimes it's finished in the pan or the oven, and they drizzle butter over it and serve it with like different kinds of salads. And it's an incredible dish. I never had anything like it. And then also the name is
something else.
So fun.
That's
it's
awesome.
Fun to say. That's for sure.
And then we also had speck, which is kind of like a bacon, a cured meat.
Ooh, yeah.
I think I've heard of that actually.
Ooh.
That was made in this guy's cellar.
Oh, yeah, that's so cool.
So we were invited into this cellar of this man. He was the father of George's brother-in-law, and we went to a party at his sister and his brother-in-law's house. And then afterwards, as we left, and we had eaten so much good food, homemade noodles and sauce made from their garden, and homemade walnut liqueur and coffee and cakes, and it was incredible, and lots of wine. So we had eaten and drinking our fill, and then as we were leaving, this guy's dad said, "You have to come into my cellar." And so we went in, and he showed us where he cured his meats, and then we went into the stone little cave-like place, and he cut us a huge hunk of speck and these little tiny slivers and this huge wheel of cheese, which was made by the woman in the convent on the hill.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
And he said you have to have local wine, and we couldn't say no. And
No, you can't say no.
No,
That's
you
not
can't.
allowed.
And we had to have the apricot schnapps that were local, and
Ooh, what?
So we
That's fantastic.
it was a very transporting experience, and it's kind
Wow.
of hazy and rose tinted. But yeah, and he didn't speak any
How
English,
fun.
so I think it was just like such an incredible cultural experience to share that together, and that he was so kind and welcoming, and we got to taste so many delicious local things. It's the kind of thing that you dream about when you travel, if you're really
that's so fun.
interested in meeting people and seeing how they live. So yeah, that was pretty perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. So what was the next destination after that?
We went to the Dolomites, and that was so beautiful. I love the mountains. I grew up going camping in the Sierra Nevadas in California. So I don't think even that prepared me for how beautiful these mountains were. Not even Yosemite. They were just so old and ancient that it was, I was stepping into a fantasy land. I kind of feel like that first week was like I was in some sort of fairy tale or Middle Earth or something like that, just because the scope of things was just so epic and outside my expectation. So I was just floored by the sights that we saw. And
So was it mostly like mountains then, or is it like mountains with lots of trees and rivers and waterfalls, or like what? Paint the picture for me. I've heard of the Dolomites, but don't actually have like any mental image coming to mind.
yes, there are these huge mountains, like unbelievably jagged and interesting shapes. Like they look prehistoric, and they are. They're very, very old. And They're just huge. And so these huge jutting rocks are against like the clearest skies. And every once in a while there'll be, you know, wisps of clouds. But in actually one of them, it was sort of a very squat shaped mountain, almost like, I don't know, like a toaster.
Mount Toaster?
Mount Toaster.
That's one of my favorites.
Ooh, did you climb Mount Toaster?
Oh, I wish. But it was, the top was all shrouded in clouds. It looked like something out of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But, so, like, if you've been to Yosemite and, like, you've seen El Capitan or just some of these, these huge rocks, they're like that. I felt Yosemite is like Disneyland, and this is, I don't know, real life.
Wow.
But it's huge. But there's beautiful rolling hills and trees and lakes that are sort of at the base of these huge, huge rocks. But they're just filled with beautiful switchbacks. It's there was a bike race going on while we were there. These insane people were cycling up and down the mountain on these very, very like tight hairpin roads. It was pretty crazy, and
I don't think I want to do that.
I definitely didn't. I barely wanted to do it in a car.
Yeah.
Fair.
But like cows just roam everywhere, like in these beautiful meadows that are just at the base of these huge rocks, and it's like a postcard. Like it's like a window into a much older sort of way of living, and these beautiful, I guess, I don't know what you would call them in German, but kind of like chalet looking buildings, and it's just still very, very quaint, and you can tell that families have lived there for a long time, and it's become part of their lives and part of their identity, and but it's also just very casual. It's just normal to go hike up a mountain and have lunch in a field with cows.
Yeah, that sounds normal. So how far away from Glurns were the Dolomite Mountains?
Probably only like 2.5, 3 hours.
Okay, so they're not like right next to each other necessarily.
No, like Glurns is surrounded by all the Italian Alps. It's all kind of nestled in there. And then we stayed in Bozen because that's where George lives. He lives about an hour and a half, 2 hours south of Glurns. And that's sort of, for many people, that's like the base to go visit the Dolomites. It's sort of like the biggest city in the area. And it's a pretty cool city in its own right as well, but it's just so perfectly located to see lots of parts of northern Italy.
Cool.
George took us to Lake Garda, to this cute place called Malcesine, which has this castle just jutting on the edge of the lake. And Lake Garda is Italy's largest lake. And that was beautiful because the north part of the lake is still tucked into the mountains. So it felt a lot of like my mountain lakes growing up. But we did not have any castles like that. Just forming the center part of the town. And that was beautiful. And so we stayed there. And then George left us. We ended up in Verona, had just like one night there, and then had to see Juliet's balcony, of course, even though it's been invented by tourism.
Wait, you're telling me that that's not Juliet's actual balcony? Is that like somewhere else? Do you have to like pay money to see her
like
actual
a secret,
balcony? How does that work?
Ryan,
know all the right handshakes.
I know that you were a science major, but I expected more of you than this.
I don't understand. What's the problem? If you're gonna see Juliet's balcony, you should see Juliet's actual balcony, shouldn't you?
Oh no. Okay, here's a comparison for you, Ryan. I used to think that shooting stars were actual stars. There you go.
Like actual stars?
Yeah. That's how I feel with you making this statement right now.
Okay, that's fair.
Am I speaking your language now? By not.
Yep, now I understand.
Oh, but that's fun. So what did they make it look like then?
It is a beautiful old balcony. It's probably I don't know, it's probably Renaissance or medieval. But
Oh, cool.
I don't know. I think they just decided because it was a cute balcony that it would be Juliet's balcony and generate tourism.
That's cute, though. That's fun to go see that if you're there.
Yeah, for sure. Like it doesn't cost to go in, so you can just sort of get funneled into this courtyard with a million other people and take your picture and leave a note if you want to. But I couldn't even.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, we didn't do that. We just took our selfie and left. I guess we're not very romantic people.
Oh, man. What else was in Verona?
They have some beautiful Roman ruins, some pretty well preserved ones. Their amphitheater, their Colosseum, is really beautiful. It's not as large as the Colosseum in Rome, but it's very well preserved. It's sort of brick colored and beautiful arches. So I think if you're interested in Roman ruins, there's a lot to see there.
Oh, cool. How touristy were those? Because one thing that I don't appreciate about the Colosseum is just like how insanely packed it is. And you know what I mean? That whole experience. So was that similar to that? Or was that kind of like less people or less, I don't know, less touristiness? Or what was it like?
Well, we didn't actually go inside. We just it's sort of in the center of town, so you can walk around the outside. And yeah, I don't really like touristy things either in the crowd. So my favorite times of day were the early morning or sort of late in the afternoon towards golden hour, which as a photographer, I'm sure you appreciate. My friend got super annoyed at me because I would plan where we would be, like certain sites, based on when golden hour was.
No, that's just smart.
It's just smart, right? So you can get the best pictures.
Okay, so for those of us who are not photographers, golden hour is...
Golden hour is the first hour of daylight and the last hour of daylight, and it is the best time to take pictures.
Because everybody looks like their King Midas covered in gold?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, it's pretty much like a Snapchat filter of that.
Ooh, now
Am I
you're
using
talking
that
my
term
language.
correctly? Chap snap, is that what it's called?
Yeah, but just the lighting is really, really good. So you picked particular spots to go to because you wanted to be at those spots when the lighting was good. How did you decide which spots? Because obviously you can't be everywhere.
Right.
And you haven't
in
gone
that
to the
hour.
places before.
Right.
Yeah, so how did you, what process did you use to decide where to be during the golden hour?
Let's see. Sometimes it was just chance. You just happened to be at the right place at the right time. But then I think if you have enough understanding of the place that you're going to, you can guess. Like, for example, when we were in Cinque Terre, Manarola is considered like probably the most iconic of the 5 cities. And so I knew that, like, in order to really appreciate it the best and to get the best picture, that we should hike towards the end of the day and get dinner first. And like, we lucked out because we met this girl on the train and she became our travel buddy just for those 2 days that we were in that region. And she had an idea to go to, there was a restaurant that was on like the other opposite cliff in Manarola.
Oh,
and so
cool.
we had dinner and we waited for the sun to start setting, and then we finished up just as sunset was hitting. So that ended up being perfect.
Cool.
So, but that's one of those things that's like a happy accident that kind of coincides with a little bit of planning.
How cool. Okay, I gotta hear about, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, Cinque Terre? How do you pronounce it?
I think it's pronounced Cinque Terre, but I never say
Cinque Terre.
Cinque.
Okay, I have not gone there. I
me
really
neither.
want to go there. I think as a photographer, I want to go there. I'm a hiker. I like a small town. So, like, I gotta hear about this. I'm very excited.
I think I would spend way more time there than we did. We had 2 nights, and that really wasn't enough. And so that's the thing of like choosing to edit down our expectations because there wasn't enough time to see all 5 cities. Like, I think you probably could if you really pushed yourself, but I don't know. There's something wonderful about, staying in just 1 or 2 places and getting to know them well. So you have something to go back to the next time. We stayed in Vernazza, which I think is the most beautiful place I've ever seen. It's smaller than I think some of the other towns in that region, and just so picturesque, and just beautiful bay. That's all tucked in there. It's like a tiny, tiny little beach, and an old castle tower, and
fun.
There's grapes that are growing. There's wineries like up in the hills. It's just really all smushed into the hill, they definitely make use of the space really well. So yes, I would definitely recommend Vernazza. And then it's not hard to either hike or take a train between the 5 cities. We went a couple ones down, like I said, to Manarola, and that one was a lot bigger. Like, it was much more bustling than Vernazza. But that one does have, I think, probably the most stunning and iconic view. It has the most houses crammed into that rock and beautiful colors. And yes, it's just like you can see a photo, like such an iconic photo, but it doesn't really stack up to how the light changes, like different, depending on what time of day you are. Because when we were first there, it was sort of like 3 o'clock, so the light was really harsh and the shadows really strong and contrasty. And then it changed as it went along. It got so beautiful at sunset, like everything turned pink and rosy. And then as the sun slipped past the horizon, you could really see all the different pastel colors because all this blue light was mingling into it. And so I think if you take the time just to appreciate the sights, not just for that one, perfect snapshot or whatever, but to kind of see how the light changes it and how the time of day affects like the rhythm of a place, then I think you can appreciate it more, for sure. But yeah,
so cool.
I would definitely love to go back.
Oh man, can you describe what it's like there a little bit more? Because I'm familiar with because as far as I understand, it's 5 little towns along the coast, and you can hike between them.
Yes, you can.
So, like, what kind of a length of a walk/hike are we talking?
Yeah, how strenuous of a hike is that?
I think some of them are very strenuous. A lot of stairs. Like, we didn't do very much hiking because my friend had injured her knee, so we just took the train and then did a small walk in Manarola. But I think there are passes that you can get. Our friend Stacy had a pass, and so she did a lot more hiking on her own. She was from Taiwan. So, so there are definitely, I think, levels of hiking, so you just have to research which stretches between the towns are like fit your needs better. But yeah.
But is it like an hour between each town, or like 5 hours, or like what kind of length?
Oh, it's probably only an hour or 2 between.
Okay.
I would think.
So not super far.
Yeah, no, they're pretty close. Like, depending on which town you are and where it's jutting out into the coast, you kind of can look back and see some of the other towns or parts of them. So, I don't know. I don't know if you would do it in one day, but you probably could. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sure there's much more knowledgeable people on that topic, but I would love to go back and do more hiking because I think, you can't beat those views of like when you're coming into a town after walking a while on a cliff. So,
oh, that's so cool. Oh man!
And remind me, how long did you spend in the Cinque Terre?
Just 2 nights.
Okay.
Yeah, so really only one full day because the other days were eaten up with travel. So,
but you did go to all 5 of the towns during that time?
No, just 2.
Okay.
And then pass through a couple on the train, but you can't really see.
Got
anything.
it. Okay.
But yeah,
cool.
Yes, I've got 3 more that I gotta go see.
Gotta go check them out. Better go back to Italy then.
Darn it.
Too bad.
So where else did you go?
We went to Venice and Florence and Amalfi and Rome.
Oh my goodness. You went to so many places.
Well, because correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to get my geography here. Because you originally said northern Italy, And then you told us a little bit about that jaunt down the Amalfi Coast. Isn't that in southern Italy?
It is, yeah. So we covered a lot of ground.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh my
so
goodness.
yeah, we started like I said, like up in northern Italy and snaked our way down on the train. We went to Venice after Verona before the Cinque Terre excursion. And yeah, so I think it was interesting because we very slowly made our way south and west before finally ending up in Rome. So yeah, it was an incredible amount of real estate to cross.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I have to ask because I have been to Italy, but I have not been to Rome. So you need to tell me about Rome. And first, let's just start with how long were you in Rome?
We were in Rome for 4 nights.
Oh, good. Okay.
Nice
amount of time.
Yeah, but that last night we got up super early in the morning to go to the airport. So
got it.
Okay.
That one doesn't really count.
And what did you do in Rome? And if I do finally ever make it to when I finally make it to Rome, what are the things that I absolutely have to make time for? What is the most important thing, in your opinion, to do and see in Rome?
Let's see. I think that's pretty easy. The Pantheon was the most incredible thing I saw in Rome.
The Pantheon.
The Pantheon. Okay. It is,
which is all of the things.
Yes.
Right? That's literally what it means, right? Pan. I guess I don't know what Theo is.
Theo, I think, is God.
Oh, just like, okay, gotcha.
I think.
So it's all of the gods?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. It was a temple for all the gods, and then it became a Christian church at some point. And it is, I think, one of the most, continuously used places of worship throughout antiquity. And it is the best preserved Roman ruin. Or it's not really a ruin. It's because it's perfect.
Oh, really?
But it's this beautiful building.
Yeah, I went there. It's quite impressive, yeah.
This incredible dome. It's perfect. It's like a gigantic basketball. It inspired Brunelleschi in the creation of Duomo in Florence. It inspired Michelangelo for St. Peter's in Rome, the Vatican. It even inspired the U.S. Capitol building. So it's just an incredible feat of construction that was lost to Westerners after the fall of the Roman Empire and then rediscovered in the Renaissance. And it has an oculus in the center, which is a hole open to the sky. So we were there when it rained, and so we saw rain fall from the sky through the oculus into the building.
Oh. Wait, you gotta go back. You said it was lost, and then it was rediscovered. How do you lose a giant building?
No. The ability to create a dome that size.
Got it. Thank you. That makes much more sense.
Yeah.
I was a little confused.
It's so old that they don't really know how they got it on.
Yeah.
Because there's just this perfect dome on top of these pillars in this building, and they're like, how did they do that?
So kind of like with Stonehenge or with the pyramids.
Yeah, there's just a mystery to it.
Not 100% sure the technology that they used at the time to make it. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Although this is a good time to say that I recently did misplace a dome, and so if anyone's seen it, just let me know. Yeah.
Okay. Is it similar size, Joe?
Yeah. No, it's larger. But I don't know where it is. So
slipped into another dimension.
I'll keep my eyes peeled. Okay, so the Pantheon, which does now sound very cool, especially with that history and the connection of all the other things that have been inspired by it. That's really cool. What else? What are other cool things to see or do in Rome?
Let's see. There's an area outside of Rome. They have their own sort of cultural identity as being separate from Rome, but it's still very close to Rome. It's called, I hope I don't butcher the pronunciation. I think it's Trastevere is the name of it.
Okay.
Trastevere. I got you.
Oh, that one.
That
makes
one, yes.
sense. Thanks,
Thank you, Cheryl.
Oh, you're so welcome.
It's like when I was with all of these German-speaking people at the beginning part of the tour, and they wanted to know what my mom's German and Austrian family name was, and I said Breuer, and they looked at me confused and said, Bruner? And I said, no, Breuer. And then I tried to spell it for them, and then I actually finally had to type it out. And after I typed it out, they went, oh, Breuer! And I said, that's what I said! So, the accent, I guess, is very important.
Oh, boy.
But yes, Trastevere is incredibly charming, and these beautiful buildings that are covered in vines and sort of tucked away from the river. And they've got this amazing old church. I think they call it St. Maria's, but it's like a Franken church because you can see on the outside.
I just got the best visual ever.
Oh, gosh. Now I did too. Okay, the Franken
With like
Church.
the bolts in the neck. And
Oh, jeez.
It's crazy because at one point it was some like Roman, I don't know, some Roman house or villa. So it's got, the Roman architecture, and then it's got this sort of like medieval thing, like tower tacked on with these mosaics, and it's like smushed up next to probably, I don't know, Baroque or maybe a little bit later,
Wow.
like 17th or, no, like 18th century, I don't know. Like I said, Frankenchurch, all of these different eras smushed together to create,
wow.
this building that's been a church, and gorgeous mosaics inside. But yeah, it's just a little bit eccentric, which I liked. Not so stuffy.
Cool. Mm-hmm. And I assume you took pictures of like all of these things. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
for sure. I took
we'll have to put
so
those
many
on
pictures.
Our Instagram, because we got to post these things just because I want to see them first of all,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna need to post these on our.
Gotta see the Frankenchurch, and hopefully I
The
don't.
Franken Church, the dome that no one can find for thousands of years. These are all important things to see.
Yeah, I hope I don't go to hell for the Frankenchurch comment.
I mean,
Well, time will tell. So
Cheryl and I don't really have any say in that, but we're rooting for you.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's so cool. Any other like final things you wanted to share about from this trip that like you have that you're just like burning to tell us?
I don't know. It's one of those things where I think I'm even still processing it all. Yeah, I loved it. I was surprised by how much I loved it. Not because, like, it's surprising to love Italy. I mean, everybody loves Italy, but I was just surprised by how easy I felt there, and just how I clicked with it, and all the food, and the public water fountains, and just the way of life. I think some of the other places I've been to internationally, I knew a lot more what to expect. And I don't know, I think there are stereotypes about Italy, and I don't think I really experienced any of the stereotypes. It was just so much more real than those things that you think you know. So, especially Rome. Like, everyone says how chaotic and, I don't know, over the top Rome is. And maybe that's true, but there are pockets of peace and beauty everywhere. And I think that's the key, that no matter where you go when you travel, if it matters to you to find rest, you can find it. And you just have to be prepared to deal with some of the crowds, because there are so many other tourists right now. Like, they're really clogging up Venice terribly. I feel like a Venetian when I'm like, those tourists, even though I was one. But yeah, like I think that's why it's important. I mean, we stayed pretty short amount of time in each place, but I think it's important to spend a little bit longer so that you can get to know a place beyond just what, like, the tourists would see in a day. Like Venice is overwhelming, but if you spend a little bit longer and you're there, when no one else is there, like in the deserted back canals or you go and you take time to see the other islands like Murano and Burano, I think you get to have an appreciation for places that you wouldn't if you had just been there for like a day trip. And so I think it's important to have those spaces of quiet. And we would take naps in parks or on the side of a mountain in the sun. Like, that's very important to find rest, because I think then you get to see what a place is really like, because you have time to watch it and you have time to just rest and to be. And so I think that's a very important part of traveling. And yeah, those sites are important. Like, there were things that were very important to me to see in Florence, because I love art and I love history. And there's so much to do there, but then there was also just the wonderful experience of going and sitting on a hill across the river and looking at sunset. And that took a lot of time because it was quite a hike to get up there. And you have to just sit and you have to wait. But it's a beautiful communal experience because everybody makes that trek. But I just love the idea that all of these people took time out of their day and their itinerary to hike up this hill and sit on these steps and watch the sun set over Florence. And it's an incredible view. And people go up there all day long, I think, to see it. But the communal shared experience of sunset over Florence was what made it more than just a beautiful view. It made it sort of that shared experience. And I think that's what travel can be, when you learn how to share it with other people, with locals, with whoever you're traveling with other people who are traveling as well. I don't know, I think you can just enjoy a place so much more than it's just like some box to tick off. Like, I've seen this thing, or I've been here, or I took this selfie. I don't know, you're just part of the collective experience. And yeah, I find that really cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing about all of that. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we have a question for you based on the name of our show. If you could take us with you to just one thing on this whole trip, what would it be and why?
I think I would take you to my friend Tanya's house in Glurns, and I'm sure she would invite all of you because she's so kind. But I would take you to her dining room table and just give you the chance to talk with her and meet her, because ultimately it's the relationships that you make when you travel. And we're all on a group text now on WhatsApp, and that's, you know, that extends beyond, you know, the end date of your trip. And just to get a chance to like invite you to meet my new friend, like, I would love a chance to do that.
That's
I love
cool.
that. That's very cool. Well, Alyssa, what's your next trip?
I think my next trip will probably be Oberammergau in 2020 to see the Passion Play. It's this little village in Bavaria, and it's always been my mom's dream to go and see this entire town put on this all-day Passion Play about the life and death of Jesus. And they've been doing this since the 1600s, and it's like...
Oh my goodness,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's this whole thing, and they do it every 10 years. And so the next one is in 2020. So I think, I don't know, I'm going to try to make her go with me because, I mean, that's been her dream forever. So, like, we have to go. And so I think
That's cool.
in that roll in, I don't know, more of Austria. I've always wanted to see Vienna. And I don't know, maybe we'll go down to Glurns again.
Hey, why not? If you're already there,
Go back
right?
to Glurns, yep.
Maybe I'll just move to Glurns. I'll go live in the convent on the hill and make cheese.
Boom. Yep. That's the dream. Wow. Well, we will have to have you back on after you go see the Passion Play, because that sounds incredible. Wow.
Yeah, I really hope it works out.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta go. That's so cool. Well, do you have any travel questions for us?
Yeah. Do you? Because I'm dealing with this right now. Do you ever get homesick for the places you've traveled to? And
yes.
And how do you deal with that when you come home?
Oh boy. I mean, yeah, I definitely do. I think everywhere I've gone, I get homesick for, and if I visit a place a second time, it both like satisfies that a lot and then makes me even more homesick for it. And so I think, I mean, even within the United States, like, you know, you and I went to school together in Southern California, and every time I go back to Southern California, I get more homesick for it. And so it's like this like temporary satisfaction of getting to visit people I love down there and like be in the sun and all those things. And then I leave and I'm like, it's just difficult. And I think like for me, it's, I mean, and that's what's like interesting about doing this podcast is like it kind of satisfies a lot of that of being like, oh, let's talk about all these cool places we've gone to. And then it also, there is still that ache of like, but we're not there right now, you know? And so I think it's just also like, I don't know, this sounds very cheesy, but appreciating the cool things about the place that I live because I'm like, I live in the mountains in Washington State and work at this camp and live in this tiny little cabin. And I know so many people who are very jealous of that life, you know? And so I think it's kind of reminding myself of like, oh, I live in a very cool place that people would love to travel to and might get homesick for as well. And so I think just like remembering that and appreciating like the satisfaction of where I'm at too. So yeah.
That's so good.
I would agree that yes, there's definitely times where I don't know if I would use the term homesick, because for me it doesn't feel like home, but it is like there are other places in the world that I feel very comfortable. And I wonder if for you, because the places that I think of that generally it falls into is because I know people who live there, right? So like you spending time in Glern and getting to know people there, like that is a different sort of experience than just going someplace as a tourist.
That's true.
You know? And so because I'm not just missing the place, I'm also missing the people. And like for me, and I've talked about this place before on our podcast, but Ljubljana in Slovenia, I know so many people that live there, and it's the city itself for me also has all of those memories of the people that are there as well. And so when I'm missing the city, I'm also missing the people, and they're kind of, it's hard to pull them apart from each other.
That's
and so,
true.
You know, I stalk them all on Facebook and, and, you know, keep doing what I can to get back there when I can, you know, and obviously there's limitations, but yeah, it's, I think you're right. There's a longing sometimes for some of the places that we've been.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good question.
Yeah, it was. Really
and now
we're all crying.
Okay, all right. So we're going to kind of transition into the last segment in our episode called Wish You Were Here. So all three of us, each of us is going to highlight an attraction, a spot, an activity, a thing from one of our travels that we've been on at some point and kind of tell you, hey, this is really, really cool. We wish you were here with us when we had been there because it's worth being. So who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Go for it, Cheryl.
Okay, so my Wish You Were Here this week is in Seattle, right in my hometown, and it is the Seattle Public Library. So, I mean, libraries are cool. I think we can all agree upon that, but I mean, Ryan's an iffy on that. I think Alyssa would think
I'm just thinking of Parks
cool.
and Rec, so, you know.
Oh. I was not talking about librarians. I was talking about libraries.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it is such a cool building. I think it's either 12 or 13 stories tall, and the entire outside of it is glass, all in these like I don't know the architecture words, but like triangle shapes that like you can see the outline. It's like made a bunch of triangles of glass together, and then each story kind of goes out in a different like wonky direction. So it's not just like an up and down building. It goes like in and out, all geometric And on the inside, it's just such a fun place to explore. One of the floors, everything is just red. Like there are just red walls and doors and floor and ceiling, and you just walk around.
And books?
Well, there's not books on that floor, but like there's just
I thought
this
it was a library.
Well, yeah, that one feels more like you're in the magic school bus going inside of like an artery or something like that, maybe. Because it's just like this like red hallway and you're like, where am I? And the chairs look incredibly uncomfortable, but are very comfortable because they're all like blocky looking. Like it almost looks like Lego chairs without the little nubs on them or something like that. And actually, I mean, it's so gorgeous there that I'm a photographer and I took a girl's senior pictures there because it's just like all this natural lighting because all the walls are just glass. And you can take the elevator up to the top and like there's just like this little ledge where you can look down all the way to the bottom floor from there. And oh man, it is such a fun building. It's right in the middle of downtown, so it's really easy to get to if people are checking out some of the other touristy things in Seattle. And it's just like, I mean, obviously be respectful. It is a library, but like it is such a fun place to explore. And I've taken friends from out of town there several times just because it's like such a unique building. So, check out the Seattle Public Library.
Maybe I should change my answer the next place I'm going to go. That sounds awesome.
Oh.
I mean, I've never actually been there.
You gotta go. It's so fun.
So I may have to make my way down. I mean, it's in Seattle, and I kind of avoid like Seattle because of, driving and parking and things.
Yeah,
but.
for sure.
Alyssa, what's your wish you were here?
My wish you were here is the Ghibli Museum in Japan, which is a museum celebrating the work of Studio Ghibli and its founder and master writer and director and incredible artist, Hayao Miyazaki. And for those of you who don't know Miyazaki, he's kind of like the Walt Disney of Japan. And
is he the Spirited Away guy?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like Howl's Moving Castle.
Yes.
And like
My Neighbor Totoro.
Cool.
Yes. I grew up with those films, so when we went, this was part of our trip to Japan when we were filming a short film when I was in college. And so we went, it's outside of Tokyo, and it's beautiful. It's tiny and charming. It looks like something lifted like straight out of one of his films. The architecture is just so
really?
Soft. like I don't know. Soft, I think, is the right word in terms of it's just, I don't know. It's magical and quaint and round and cute.
And round, okay.
Yes. I mean, if you've seen his films, I think you can picture what I'm talking about. It just has a quality that is just so inviting and welcoming, and it comes out in the architecture, sort of this old world quality, but that has like a fantasy twist to it. And it's if you love his films, then it's wonderful to see because there are just so many details that are woven into the museum itself and the building. They give you little film cells from the films as part of your ticket.
Oh, cool.
And they've got like exclusive short films that you can only see at the museum. And they have a reproduction of Miyazaki's office space. And so they have all of these binders that you can flip through of his inspirations from paintings to locations in Europe. Just beautiful, attention to detail. They've replicated everything. And so you get a sense of who he is as a man and the sort of things that he likes. And you just feel like you're transported into his mind. And on the top of the building, they have a gigantic statue. I mean, gigantic. It's life-size to what this character would be if it existed in real life. It's this robot soldier. And he's huge. I hugged his leg. I was so happy to see him. And he just towered over me. But yeah.
And from what film, what is he from?
That's from Castle in the Sky.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
Very
one of his
cool.
earlier films.
Nice.
And yeah, it's just this huge robot that has these like enormously long arms and legs, and it's very cute. I'm weak for cute robots, especially if they're like giant. So yes, that was really special. Especially because
Wow.
I was too big. They only allow the little children to climb all over the gigantic furry cat bus from My Neighbor Totoro. They've got a furry cat bus that children can climb on and climb in. And
That's fun.
I sort of pressed my
that is
nose
so fun.
against the glass into that room where I watched the children climb into the cat bus.
That's so cute. Oh, how fun.
So yeah, that was
That's a
really
good one.
really magical place.
Nice.
Awesome. So interesting that, yeah, we're all talking about, and not everything exclusively, but both of those had to do with very interesting buildings, right? Obviously, it sounds like the museum was more than just buildings, because you had the giant cat bus. But so what I picked, interesting also fits in there. It's the Harpa Concert Hall in Reykjavik in Iceland, and
Ooh.
it's I did not hear a concert there, but the building is actually what I think is the most amazing. So it's glass on the outside, I don't know, like 3, 4, maybe 5 stories. And so it looks kind of like a skyscraper that you would see in like a big city as far as the glass at the sides, except it has very thick, and I don't know any architecture, but so like metal or something around each of these glass panes, but they're all very, very geometric and repeating. And it's following the pattern of the columnar basalts, which I'm sure I'll talk about at some point on this podcast, but are a naturally occurring, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a hexagon, right? 6-sided,
Yes.
right?
We'll say yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds right.
hexagonal rock formations, but so that all of these glass panes are all around these 6-sided shapes that keep repeating, but in different ways. And so it's all glass, but then you
cool.
like walk in, and there's the ceiling is the same hexagonal shape, but as mirrors. So you look up and you see this pattern in the ceiling, but then you've also got it on the side, and then the light comes through and it bends, and so you get like partial like prism kind of like rainbow parts in certain places, but not other places. It's so hard to describe. It was just beautiful. And it's just, you just can walk from floor to floor to floor. When we were there, they had, and I don't know, this is always there, if it was just at the time, they had these like self-playing pianos up this big giant stairway that you go up. And so they're just playing this very like ethereal sounding music. And so it all just kind of fits in with sort of just this bigness feeling. It was, I don't know, it's gorgeous. I of course didn't feel like I spent enough time there and took a whole bunch of pictures, but it was really, really cool. It was it's a really beautiful building, so that would be,
it sounds like a clear honeycomb.
Yeah.
Is that what it's like?
Kind of like a clear honeycomb. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
I think that's a good way to describe it.
Man, we gotta go to all these places,
I
guys.
know.
I know.
Can I change my answer again?
Now I'm homesick for places I haven't even been to yet.
And this is why we do this podcast. Because we want to go to all the places.
Yes, we do. Oh, man. Well, Alyssa, thank you so much for being on our podcast today. This was so fun.
Yes, thanks, Alyssa.
Man.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we loved it. Such good stories.
It was great. And so if you want to see some of the pictures, hopefully Alyssa will share some with us. And then we'll have some pictures from some of our Wish You Were Here's and those sorts of things. You can follow us on social media. We're at Timwy Podcast, TMWY, on all of the major social medias, and we'll post pictures there as best we can. You can tag us if you are traveling around and wish we were with you. Feel free to tag us in a post of yours, and we'd love to hear comments and ideas from you.
Yeah, you can also email us at timwepodcast@gmail.com. You can send us ideas of super cool guests that you know. You could ask us travel questions, advice, or you could tell us a fun story about a trip that you took.
Yes. Or if you want to actually tell us, not just type it to us, you could call us and leave us a voicemail. We have a phone number. It is 406-POD-TIMWY. Or if you want the numbers, 406-763-8699. And you can call us, leave us a voicemail. Maybe we'll even play it in a future episode. You can also text us if you'd like to. If you got a short something and you're just not the email type, you can send us a text message. Depending on where it is that you are listening to us on and or from, if you feel so inclined, we would appreciate if you rated our show, reviewed us, subscribed, follow us, all of those things, so that you can hear more of the wonderful stories from the guests that we get to have on our podcast.
Yeah, and all those things help us get more listeners, and we would love them. So thank you in advance for doing that. As always, thank you so much to Beth Morrell for our wonderful artwork. We love it, and you can check out more of her artwork at Beth Is Something.
Thanks, Beth. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. So until next time, remember, when you go travel, take me with you.
Take me with you.